So hey guys, this is going to be a different kind of video. It's not scripted, so I'm pretty much want to go over the tournament that happened recently. So I participated, I got second, and I kind of just want to go over the matches that played out. So basically I'll start from within the beginning of my bracket. First opponent was absent. Fatty Waffle is a very good UA player, but I think he had other businesses to attend to, so he did not show up. And my second round was also a bye because Panaptis and Cass NG both did not show up. So kind of you can see how good I am at UA already. And my first real opponent was Mukuno IT. Yeah, let's go to it. So my first match against Mukuno IT. Mukuno opens up with Albion and Raphithia, if I remember correctly. Yep. Also, I'm using the live footage because the early games within the tournaments are not in the replays. So this is the only way I can actually showcase this first match to you guys. So I go with my standard opening of Beliath into Levia into Veronia. This is kind of my safe play, especially with the way they are positioned. It's immune to Bane, and it gives me some flexibility to react to what the opponent is doing, which is important if you're going second. Typically going second is not too bad, in fact it is arguably easier, but going second can set you up for some mistakes if you position incorrectly at your first 3 units rather. So Mukuno played Lucius first, which is a little bit strange. Lucius first isn't bad if you're going second, but the problem is that going first you want to apply a lot of pressure with a pretty strong unit. The thing is that, yeah, Lucius is not the unit I would recommend to start open with at least. So afterwards I set myself up to pretty much use Bane to target something within the 4th tile, because Bane can either take out Albion, Alec, or the Eleanor. Mukuno really misplaced this heavily because he puts the Bane in the top priority of Albion. So as a result, I end up getting 3 units for free, and he kind of just handed to me. So this is unfortunate for Mukuno's part. Yeah, the Lucius opening is not very threatening at all. And afterwards, because his Bane has taunt, my Bane attacks, gets a stigma on all 3 of them, and boom, even survives Alec. Yeah, this is kind of a train wreck, unfortunately. Mukuno had some good things going, but he unfortunately misplayed pretty heavily. This could have been actually very good for him, although it's kind of hard to imagine how exactly it could be good because I don't remember his box right off the bat. But yeah, he needs to kind of, when you play Albion, you need to be able to mix it up essentially. So you kind of present Albion and there's like a lot of options that you can kind of lean towards to afterwards. But unfortunately, yeah, it's just Lucius solo and it's pretty much a wrap at this point. This is not something he can come back from. And yeah, that's that. Good games to Mukuno. So after I qualified, my first opponent right off the gate was Dreamcast. Let me bring up the replay. So right off the bat, Dreamcast went first. He placed Narutus and then he placed Levia. So my usual play is to just go Beliath into Levia and then after that Veronia. That's my standard general play. I think it's important in UA to kind of keep a consistent rhythm. I usually scout out the enemy and see if they have Bane or if they have Ludmilla, and everything else I can kind of play around. But those 2 I need to be very careful, and depending on what they have, I have to position my Veronia accordingly along with my Levia. That's why I have some breathing room in the back, and also the front is mostly safe by Bane. So right off the bat, you can see he opened up with Bane, and after that followed up with the Ventana. So if I placed my Taunter first, or rather if I place my Taunter in reaction to the Bane, I'm not likely going to have troubles with Ventana unless it's a Kaylin. So I reacted by, of course, just counterplaying essentially. Unfortunately, the second player going has the opportunity to do that. And I played my Ventana to counter the Bane, and afterwards I went with Orfina. So I basically put Orfina and Seto to kind of pressure the top lane. It's basically saying you have to probably start putting units over here, and you can't stack units in the bottom. So this forced Dreamcast to start putting units into the top lane. You can see he ran with a Jhin and a Baltor. Now here's the thing, because I have the luxury of also going second, I was able to play my Ludmilla and my Angelica afterwards. So Ludmilla is very key to pretty much taking out this bot lane so that this Narcissus doesn't blow up my whole entire formation as a result. In UA, going second is generally pretty advantageous unless you have a really strong setup. Like Albion players probably want to go first, but for the most part, going second has a lot of advantages in UA. So yeah, my Ludmilla takes out the bottom row, and at this point, I kind of get lucky because I didn't intend for my Levia to actually get blown up, but the thing is, it works out very well because my Levia wouldn't have done anything anyways against the Jhin counterplay from Dreamcast. So afterwards, it doesn't matter if Levia was pretty much a moot point at that period, and afterwards, yeah, my units move, and it's there could have been some pretty bad outcomes for me, but overall I made it through that one. So going on to the next match, my opponent afterwards was Quaz. My match against Quaz was a lot more simple overall. So basically Quaz opened with the Raphithia into Beliet, a pretty common opening sometimes if you have both legends. As you can see, like I said earlier, my Beliet into Levia into Veronia. Now, the reason why I played it like this is because I noticed that Quaz did have Bane, but he did not have Ludmilla, so I can afford to put units in the back row without having them getting without fear of them getting sniped. So after that, Quaz began to pretty much unload on this entire back corner. Starts off with the Eleanor, and then after that comes up with Levia, Baltor, and Yuri. So at that point, the whole entire top lane is exposed. But the thing is that Quaz's Baltor is actually almost max rank boost, I think, so it was actually very, very tanky, and my Ludmilla actually was not able to kill it at that point. You'll see later. Afterwards, Quaz pretty much played his rest of his warriors. I focused primarily on top lane because I feel like I can afford to stall bottom lane for the most part and kind of chip it out, while top lane I just want to invest most of my precious more precious units up there and kind of play it out like that. So right off the bat, we have Eleanor open up. I tank it with Angelica and Lucius. Afterwards, I have my Ludmilla rather, open up on top, but you can see that Baltor lived with like 8k HP. So I had Bane as an insurance to take out the Bane the Baltor as a result. And from there on, my Bane was actually a very good play. I just kind of wanted some insurance, but Bane actually tanked a lot of things, whereas my Lucius probably wouldn't have survived like past round 2 potentially. Levia moves, does some damage to Lucius. I think that may have been the first pop, so it's kind of not very optimal, but my Ludmilla is chipping away at top lane while my Lucius and Bane are holding them back. So this is pretty much kind of like, essentially, I could hold Quaz's warriors at bay while I slowly chip away at his formation. And that's kind of like a lot of my UA wins essentially, and maybe a lot of UA wins in general, is where you just, try to find a way to kind of loop the enemy and then afterwards just, break open the formation bit by bit. Because you're not going to get a lot of good opportunities to just straight out like kill a lot of units at once unless they royally screw up. Or if you're running like Narcissus and you really try to deliberately play for that. So as you can see, my Ludmilla is just doing mad work. Just blowing up people one by one. Seto and Ludmilla together, pretty good combination to be honest. My Bane does eventually give away due to Eden's insane damage, but at that point, it's like Eden still has to break through Lucius, and Lucius is on his last legs, but at that point, the game is already done. So after Quaz, my next opponent is LM Saint, or Lim Saint, or it looks like I'm Saint, but this is actually an L. So very, very sneaky right off the bat. He's trying to hit me with some mix-ups, but you know what? No big deal. Let's watch the replay for that. Alright, so I fucked up the recording a little bit, but it's okay. So basically, you can kind of tell of how I'm just calling him I'm Saint, fuck it. Basically started off in a actually very similar opening to me, in a way that, you know, Refithia, or rather a support into Levia, sorry, and then after that Veronia. So I'm Saint played these 3 units first, and I did my usual opening. I placed Levia in the front, and as a result, Saint reacted by placing Barbara. So Barbara is now has kill pressure on this my Levia over here, but I do have Cecilia backed up, so I can potentially block that off. From there on, I'm Saint played Seto and then Baltor in the back. So this is important because if you watch my Ludmilla video, you notice that basically I have Ludmilla can actually kill units past Seto, but the problem was that I forgot about Baltor's nullifier reflex. So I actually didn't remember the fact that even though Ludmilla will kill the Baltor, it will be her buffs will be nullified. She'll die to the Seto, and then Levia will be left untouched. So that's kind of bad on me to not remember, and I played with the intention that Levia was gonna die. So this is kind of a bad prediction on my part. Afterwards, I placed a Taunter, just to kind of pressure the bottom lane, because, you know, once I take out Veronia, Barbara is much less of a threat. From there on, Saint reacted with Ventana to kill my Bane, and afterwards set up for more tanks at bottom lane. And this is pretty much the entirety of Swarm. Now, afterwards, I placed my Ventana to react to the Bane, and I placed Orfina because, you know, placing a late warrior that can check a certain kind of field after all the units are already established is pretty strong. So like late Alec, late Asmo, stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, so I lose Bane. The fight proceeds essentially. I was very fortunate to put my Ventana in the front because I had a feeling something might have been wrong. So I just put her just to tank in case Levia attacks. Yeah, it won't one-shot my Seto. My Levia takes out Refithia, I lose my Veronia, and Seto heals to full. This is where I kind of luck out. So this is not a lot of this is just mostly me getting lucky, actually. Maybe luck is a skill, one could argue, but yeah. My Seto lives on his last 11 tick, and my Levia takes out Seto. And at this point, it's kind of obvious as to what will happen, because Lucius cannot kill Double Shield Belieth until it hits very much late game overtime. So yeah, at this point, the Lucius is stuck, and my Seto is free to chip away at Lucius. Now here's the thing though, if I'm saying actually had Lucius within Refithia's buff, I'll be fucked. Like, I would actually, Seto will kill himself, and at that point, I'm pretty much playing with a Levia skeleton, and I can't win from that. Unfortunate for Saint though, this is just kind of how it plays out. Belieth, you know, best girl, what can you do? Just look at her. I rank boosted Belieth. It's not even a smart investment, but I did it for love, man. And if you do it for love, it's always a smart investment. Don't chase power, chase love. So yeah, you kind of know what happens. Boom, a battle over. And that was kind of actually a pretty damn close one. So Saint, that could have gone either way, actually. It's not really me outplaying them. It's me like just rolling the dice and then boom. Alright, so now for the final one. So my final match is against Tombstone. This one's going to be a little bit difficult for me to watch just because how bad I played it out. But yeah, best to review it anyways. Revisit your mistakes because, you know, that's how you get better. I played Belieth, so, you know, like I said earlier already, I'm playing my typical opening. The reason why I have to use the actual footage is because I actually did not get to play 9 units. I forgot to put one more unit near the end. I was like, oh shoot, I forgot. So you'll see me flub that up. It's pretty embarrassing, but you know what? It is what it is. I can take embarrassment. And at that point, I'm watching what Tombstone is going to do. So looking at it, I think he takes his time. I don't remember the specific details of this. I know it begins with Celia, and afterwards so looking at this roster, I'm very much pressured by the Alec. Alec is so good because essentially your front 3 tiles, you're always going to lose a unit somewhere around there. Alec almost always guarantees a kill, especially with the Raphithia and Celia backed up. Yeah, it's going to be really, really difficult. So Tombstone takes his time, and eventually I think near the end starts placing the units. So he goes with Veronia into Eleanor. I also will make another mistake later on that I'm going to highlight, but it involves me. I had a plan in mind, but basically I just my excuse, I ran out of brain cells. I just messed up. So my response, I know I put a Jin near the front, but I'm just going to let it play out and talk a little bit about it after it happens. So I take my time thinking, and I am contemplating as to what to do. And I think my mentality at the time was, okay, I'm going to have to eventually tank the Eleanor, but where is he going to put the Alec? Because the Alec was troubling me a lot. So right now I just initiated with Seto, just to have like a safe play to pressure the Celia, and then afterwards my Ventana is going to move on to the Bane afterwards. But at this point, I didn't realize that, like, shoot, I still have another mercenary. I thought, yeah, I thought like, okay, I just need to place one more, where should I put my final unit? And eventually, I was still worried about the Alec, but I realized, okay, maybe I need to put a tank. You know, sometimes UA is kind of hard for this exact format, and I guess I was still fumbling with my settle position. I'm not too sure. So I was like, oh shoot, I still have one more unit I need to put in, but the surprise was that it was not one more unit. But it's that, yeah, I was like, oh no, I need to put one more unit. So I tried to put a Bane somewhere, but I ran out of time. So it's damn, yeah, that kind of sucks. The stuff happens, you know. It kind of is what it is, but yeah, I need to basically I need to think faster. That's it, and I just need to really make sure I don't lose my mind in a moment, because I think I was playing alright up until this point. This is not to discredit Tombstone for outplaying, because he certainly has, but I made a lot of mistakes to the point where I felt like I was outplaying myself rather than or rather I was like helping him to beat me. And because I also went straight from Veronia into Seto, and that's like, that's not even, I use Veronia as a buffer so I don't reveal my hand, but the initiating with Seto is simply not that strong. Seto is not a great initiator overall, so I should have pressured him with something like Orvina. That would have been a great choice. So right now I finally get to see the Alec. I can block him off with Cecilia, but at this point I'm playing with a deficit, and yeah, and I run out of units to essentially use. I need to put something that can tank the Eleanor, and I need to put something that can tank the Alec. So tanking the Alec is no brainer, but the problem is I have, like, if I put Cecilia, and I had to put Cecilia in top lane essentially because I need to keep on to my Levia and Seto, but at the same time I also had to tank. I also have to like tend to middle lane. There's probably a play I could have done with putting Cecilia right in front of Seto and then putting some fodder like Lucius just right in the middle. But then the problem is, yeah, I need to also keep my Jin alive somehow. But I don't think that's the case because my Jin is eventually going to just run into. Yeah, I have a lot of issues with this one, and at that point I felt like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty much screwed. There's no play for me that could win this, and it's kind of a blow up, unfortunately. But yeah, that ultimately ends my UA run for this month. And it's not a bad run up until this very, very sad point. But overall, hey, you know, there's always next month. And if that month don't go well, there's always a month afterwards. You know, I play UA, I like it, it's fun. It has some competitive element to it that I kind of appreciate. But ultimately, I'm not going to be too upset if I well, how upset was I at the end of this? I think I wasn't so much upset that I lost. I was upset because I was like, damn, I played like a fucking idiot. So, but I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, I ran out of brain cells. I kind of just shut down and I messed up. So, you know, all in all, hey, stuff happens, right? So, and I can just constantly sharpen my mind, you know, just stay alert, just keep playing better. Not much else I could do afterwards. After this, sorry. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe found it informative, or just found my final performance kind of silly, as I have. But yeah. And also, shoutouts to Guitar Rock for streaming this and commentating it. It takes a lot of time to do so. And also, shoutouts to the winner, Tom Stone. Yeah, overall, thanks for watching, guys. I'll probably resume my normal videos later. So, yeah, laters.